Jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bell swing and jingle bell hing. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's the jingle bell. That's the jingle bell rock. Hello, welcome to the Talk Gamer. I'm your host, Rob, and it's a lovely, and let me tell you, lovely Thursday day. Oh, I've got to start the recording. Damn it. Start again. Hello, welcome to the Talk Gamer. I'm your host, Rob, and it's a fabulous Thursday day where I am listening to Christmas tunes and getting ready for Christmas. But I think to myself, wouldn't it be cool if I got myself a death army? That's what I think. I think it would be rad to get a death army, but what would I want in my death army? I don't know. And hence the purpose of today's show. That's what this is. Hello, good morning, O Reaper, Debolt, and Budtastic Guy. Welcome to the show. So we're live on Twitch. If you are listening to this back as a podcast or on YouTube, thanks very much. Please leave some comments or just say howdy doody or happy Christmas. And then Heinrad, hello. But live on Twitch, I'll be talking to all of the nicest dudes, including Scrivo. It's his 26-month sub-anniversary. And InX the Kisuni is in the chat as well. So I'll be talking to the chat, and I'll also be hanging out with you guys. Thank you to everyone on the Wargamer Patreon who supports the show. Whoop, whoop. And don't forget to use your Christmas, like the Templar is, your Christmas points for your Christmas emoticons. So it's exciting. Death Faction, not particularly large. I don't think this will be as big a show as the Chaos show yesterday. But, you know, I'm really enjoying these little daily logins with you guys and hanging out. I hope you guys are too. If you are listening to the podcast, I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Just me talking solo. Hope it's not too dull. Oh, Heinrad, you've got a really cool one. Is that a snowman that's on fire? Holy bananas. That's right. Holy bananas. Right. Let's get on with it, shall we? Let's get on with it. Now, the first one to look at, obviously, is the Legends of Nagash. Tatafishy reckons you need crap loads of skeletons. That's what you want. Me and Tatafishy had a little chat yesterday. It was nice. Let's go find out what we do want. Now, I'm going to cover the battle tomes and anything that you can take inside the battle tomes. If you can't take something inside the battle tomes, I'm not going to touch on it, if that helps you out, unless you've got any questions. So, a bit like, it's really interesting, actually. The Chaos and Death are very similar in that they're absolutely dominated by this single large model. In Hey Vladium and the Wargaming Dad, it's structured around this singular, huge, large model, and that obviously is Nagash. They're now, hello MJ Hale, they are 800 points each. They take up a huge portion of your army. They've got restrictions if you take them, but they benefit the whole of the Grand Alliance. So I guess you've got to ask yourself, first off, are you getting Nagash? And I think if you want an answer on his competitiveness, he is really competitive. He's really good. He's incredibly survivable. In different armies, he can have crazy saves. He's really good in OBR, so OCR Bone Reapers. He's really good inside Legions of Nagash army, as demonstrated very recently with his new War Scroll by Tony Moore. So absolutely, if you want to pick up Nagash, he's a great purchase. You can use him in lots of different armies. He's really strong. So I think that's a clear yes if you want to. What's really nice though, so you're able to use the Legions of Nagash army inside Legions of Nagash, obviously, and also inside the OCR Bone Reapers. So you get that kind of like dual purpose with him if you do want to spend what is quite a large price point ticket on it. Has anyone else in the chat ever played with Nagash? Ever had Nagash? I played against Nagash. Thanks very much, Scrivo, for the 100 bits donation. I'm trying to, I don't know, Streamlabs. Oh, I haven't put Streamlabs over it. That's what the issue is. Hold on. Let me put Streamlabs over this scene, which I still haven't sorted out, like a massive idiot. And then, there we go. Now it's working. Okay. Good. Hello, Bling Marine. Hello, and Vladium. Look at you with your little Christmas hats. So, the Death Grand Alliance. That's what we're looking at. So Nagash is a yes from me. Squinty Hugh, oh, what up, bub? I've only played against Nash once. I fed him 100 skinks over a game. So Squinty Hugh, thanks for subscribing. Woohoo, for 12 months. Oh, did it not come up as an overlay? Should I sort that out really quick? Oh, Scribs, you know a computer, can you sort it out? I don't know why I tried to mess about with some of the, what are they called, notifications, and I flubbed it. I flubbed it up. I won't lie to you. Okay, so Nagash is a yes from me. Let's move on. Let's look at the start collecting boxes that you can get for Legions of Nagash that you can use. Now there are three death start collecting boxes. Vladium, thanks for the bits donation. Woohoo! Oh wait, Streamlabs, I hadn't turned it on. That was the issue. Missed it. I'm really sorry, Vladium. And also, thanks for donating 25. Look at that. 25. I'm really enjoying Twitch at the minute. It's really fun. No wonder people love doing this. It's really cool. I like the little emojis. Look at the little Santa hat. Anyway. Christmas bits for Christmas gifts. Thanks, man. And also, that's really cool of you. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you. Right, so the start collecting skeleton hordes is... Cold Traps, thanks for subscribing for 2 months, by the way. Oh, yeah, it worked. Nice. I got a new... that doesn't look that good. I'll change it. I really played against him once, and 30 bloodletters killed him turn 1. What? That's pretty impressive for the non-Xmas presents. Emoji hat. Right, so 10 skeleton warriors. 10 skeleton warriors inside the start collecting skeleton horde. Now, you've got 5... cavalry. So, oh my God, what are they called? They're not called Black Knights. They are called Black Knights. Yeah, Black Knights. But they can also be built as Hex Wraiths. And then you've got a Mortarch. So you've got, you can either build it as, the picture is Arcan, but you can build it as Arcan, Neferata, or Manfred. Big shout out to Clinto from the Heralds of War. I played against Nagash, but it was in 1997, which isn't pertinent or relevant. But it is interesting. What was you like in 1997? Give us a. That's 22. Oh, wow, 20. No. 23 years ago. 22 years ago. What was he like? Tell me. Anyway. So you can build one of the Mortarchs, and if you wanted to get multiples of the start collecting skeleton horde box, it's pretty good. Skeleton warriors, in my opinion, are still radical. You're going to need about 40 skeleton warriors in a big brick, and so buying multiples of this box is not a bad idea, but I would stop at 3 because really the Mortarchs, you can have all 3 Mortarchs, which is pretty cool. 15 cavalry and 30 of the guys on foot. That's not. You stop there. Is that a competitive army in of its own right? Absolutely not. The 3 Mortarchs really... the triple Mortarch lists are not a thing, but it could be really, really fun. And the cavalry, Black Knights, and also Hex Wraiths need some love, maybe, no matter which army uses them in. Hex Wraiths you use inside Nighthaunt, and I think also inside Legion of Grief. Nighthaunt, not particularly strong when we get to those guys. So it's a good box if you wanted to pick it up. And you can do lots with it, but to build it into a competitive army, it really turns into like 3 different types of army, and you don't get a lot of the infantry. So, and Tatterfishy has 80 skeletons. Yeah, you're getting it. That's how we do it. There you go. So you do need more skeletons than the 30 will provide. The other start collecting box, Irish Kapow, thanks for joining the knee stabbing gang. Welcome to the show. I like Hex Race to the point I now own 30. They're really good, Ange, and you can use them inside. You could use them inside the Death Riders battalion in Nighthaunt, and that's really wicked. I think that's really cool. And you get the Black Coach, an amazing model, amazing. Yeah. I just wish it, and it's just got cheaper. So Death Riders has become even more available. I just wish it was, Ange, I run double Death Riders. Ange, tell me, is it good or is it not good? Like, how have you done with them? So the Death Rider battalion is really wicked for Nighthaunt, because it basically makes, when you make a charge roll, if you roll a natural 10 for Nighthaunt, you get to pile an attack twice, or you get to attack immediately for the charge, which is wicked. And then you can pile it again because you've charged. But Death Riders takes it down to a 9. But what you take it down to, it's just oh. Angie's response to how's it going? He says, "I haven't won a game." And Arepa, it is a good box. It's full of personality. Anyway, the Start Collecting Malignance box. Rob Kelly, thanks for subscribing. Waiting for the Nighthaunt buying guide where you tell us to buy buy a long hard look ourselves. I have tons of death models, but it's a hangover from the old world, so it's all square based and unsorted and crap as far as I can see. Palladium, honestly, Skeleton Warriors are really good. If you really wanted to, you could just pick up Nagash, or just rebase an old Nagash that you have and stick him on a hilarious large base, and then just take crap loads of Skeleton Warriors, and you're in a good place. That's not a bad army. Honestly, it's not. Anyway, so Start Collecting Malignance. You get the Bloodseeker Palanquin. It's also the... I'm genuinely now going to have to find its name. It's been so long. The Bloodseeker Palanquin, the Mortis Engine, or the Coven Throne. So you get the model that can build all 3 of those. You get 5 more Hex Wraiths, which again can be built as Black Knights. And you have the worst model to put together from the Death Range. You have some Hex Wraiths. Not Hex Wraiths. Oh, God. Really been a while since I've bothered to learn the names for some of the death units. They're not called Hex Wraiths. They are called... Come on, eyeballs. This is genuinely embarrassing. Paul Greenman, thanks for subscribing for 23 months. And Merry Christmas to you. Does anyone know what they're called? The ghosts? Spirit hosts. Dear God. Oh, my God, I'm so sorry. That is... I'm gonna make a note. I'm a moron, and move on. Anyway, phone a friend. Yeah, can someone help me out, please? Anyway, is it a good box? So Spirit Hosts you can build quite well. They work really well in Legions of Grief and for Nighthaunt. They don't see tons of competitive play. They're really good for fishing for 6s, doing mortal wounds against heavy armor. Might be decent against Ossiarch Bone Reapers, and they obviously ignore Rend. We're not in a very high Rend meta. Generally, a lot of the really devastating stuff tends to do a ton of mortal wounds. But so ignoring Rend, which is Nighthaunt's kind of like shtick, is decent. But I don't know, they're summonable. You could do some cool stuff with them. But this box, would I get it? No. Currently, I wouldn't get it. It's really cool. It's got some great models in it, but it doesn't really build into anything that I think is very viable. So it's got a great personality, but that's it. That's all. That's not death. Spirit Hosts are the worst models to build from all the realms. I'm just going to challenge that and say that it's Phoenix Guard, but those are my thoughts. Don't you think High Rend might be on the way back, though, with Bone Reapers being tough bastards to crack? It's a great question, Scrunty Hugh. I actually think that the way to deal with those Mortec Guard units, when we get onto them later in Petrifex, is going to be mortal wound output, realistically, because there are some units in the game that are going to be able to do with that, and also spells. And with Caradron Overlords, good shooting, and Tzeentch, good shooting, but it's called magic. Coming back, because obviously both their books are offline, so we think they're going to get a dual release very, very soon. I think that those Mortec Guard units are in a really tough spot because there's a lot more wound output coming from there, and that mortal wound output will go through all armor. It'll also go through, unfortunately, the no Rend save on Nighthaunt. So, yeah. So that answers the question. I'm hoping. We'll see. So of the two, I would get the Skeleton Warriors, but not Malignants. I hope that's okay with you guys. But if you think something different, please let me know. Oh, good answer. Thanks, man. So, like, examples of, like, mortal wound output that I think are coming, and shooting also. So if you look at the Hallow Heart build with lots of shooting, which I think you're going to see quite a bit of, that ignores Mortec's reroll save. So they've just got to punch through that -3. And you can summon the Mortec Guard back quite quickly, but not quickly enough versus their output, in my opinion, if they focus stuff down. The issue is can Hallow Heart get spells off against Nagash? And I think the answer is correct. They can. Other stuff that's recently come out that's doing really well is Iron Jaws. Iron Jaws, I think it's a bit of a tough matchup, but they can do some pretty prodigious damage. But that is Rend. So I don't know. I don't know. Like there's lots out there at the minute. Nurse to Slanesh, we're going to see as much as Slanesh. I don't know. We'll see. What up, Two King Tristan? What up? Let's party. Chat gang. Chat gang. Let's go. Right. Other death models. Let's go look. So you got the Mortarks. If you're going to build a Mortark, what would you build? I'd build Arkan or I'd build Neferata. I'd build Manfred last for two reasons. One, in the end times, he was a massive dick. So if you haven't read the end times books, then let me know what you think. But massive dick. Then Manfred, Mortek of the Night. Neferata is cool, and Arkan are both very cool and are featured in some pretty good competitive lists. So then you've got the Ghoul King or Terrorgeist, but it's not that. It's Prince Vordry. So it's a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. So this comes in the Start Collecting box. So this is the other Start Collecting box available. Start Collecting Flesh Eater Courts. And I would say that this is a no-brainer. If you were interested in picking up Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, you just pick up the Start Collecting Flesh Eater Courts and build the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon instead. And then you get some free ghouls and Crypt Horrors or Crypt Flayers. My guide for going death, go to eBay, buy Tomb Kings. That's also another good option. You could buy a bunch of Tomb Kings as Skeleton Warriors on eBay. I think that's really clever. Okay, so yeah, Prince Vordry, Vampire Lord, Zombie Dragon. You pick up Start Collecting Flesh Eater Courts. Morghast Harbingers and Morghast Archai. I love these models. I think I own maybe 12. I really want them to be super decent, but in the armies in which you can take them, they have parallels which are better. So if you can take them in Osiark Bone Reapers, they're better. Stalkers are better than the Harbingers or the Archai. Now, that's not to say that the Harbingers don't play a role with their 3d6 charge potential. But we don't see a lot of like backline shooting potentially, and you still can't really deep strike these guys on. So they still have to move to where they're going, and they're not that survivable. And Archai are really cheap on eBay at the moment. Yeah, I'm not surprised. PTX, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate that loads. Says, hi from Amsterdam. I'm new to Warhammer and need to choose a competitive good army. Oh, there we go. This is the purpose of this weekend's shows. Oh, not this week's shows. We've covered 2 different Grand Alliances in the past 2 days, and we're covering Order tomorrow. So hopefully these shows will help you out. I bought a ton of ghouls and went for a ghoul-themed vampire counter army when they sucked. They still suck, or are they all right? Well, so now the argument about ghouls has been consistent. The Ghoul King on Terrorgeist has been consistently good. Hold on. Let me get to Flesh Eater Courts, and I'll answer that question if you've got time. Okay. Right, Blood Knights, I would never pick up. They're far too expensive. But if you did want to play Legion of Blood, which is one of the legions inside the Legion of Nagash book, you're going to need them. But you can kitbash them out of loads of other things. A lot of people use Dragon Princes. Are they called Dragon Princes now? Drake Knights? Drake Sworn Knights? Maybe. They're better. And then Vargeist, PFX13, if you actually watch back the 2 shows, yes, you can watch them both on YouTube and on Twitch. So you can watch back and see what you think of those. Okay. Full green mate, yes. What's going on? Okay, good. Right, so Bat Swarms and Fellbats, I'd buy neither of those. They're ugly. I'd find other models, and I also wouldn't use them in the game. So Vampire Lord. Potentially, I would take a Vampire Lord because he's got a cool command ability, but it's down to you whether or not you want to. Now, Necromancer, I'd pick up if I was going to play the Death Faction. It's still got one of the best spells in the game, Van Hale's Dance Macabre. Make something pile and attack twice. In the activation wars, it's still really useful, still really good. Zombies, unfortunately, are nowhere near as good, in my opinion. Amy Snuggs, thanks for subscribing. What's going on? Amy Snuggs is a fantastic painter, by the way, if you want to check out her Twitch. I don't know if you are on Twitch, actually, but her Twitter and her Instagram. It's totally worth doing. Is there a decent unit that you could use the Krell model for? Still one of the best Games Workshop models. Squinty Hugh, couldn't agree with you more. Krell looks great. And Krell is actually decent in the Death March Battalion. and you could back him up with Nagash and go old school cool. So Krell isn't bad. He's now called the White King with Black Axe. And his Lord of Bones ability, if this model uses ability, pick a friendly death rattle unit within 18 inches of it. Until your next hero phase, add one to the attack characteristic of that unit's melee weapons. You cannot pick the same unit to benefit this command ability more than once per hero phase. But that is just like wicked on that unit of Skeleton Warriors. Give them all +1 attack. Not bad at all. And if you want to use Krell for other things, like you can make a Chaos Lord pretty well. I think it wouldn't be too far off. That's the problem with Games Workshop putting skulls on everything. It makes it pretty interchangeable. Amy Snuggs, no problem. I hope they're helping. Are they helping? Do Blood Knights come in gold leaf or something? They're stupidly expensive. I don't know why they're so expensive. So just also based on the idea that Games Workshop would make the most expensive units good, Blood Knights aren't that great. Well, Krolor was at Chaos Lord before dying. There you go. So Necromancer, 100% pick up. White King with Black Axe, if I was picking up Skeleton Warriors, then 100%. Corpse Cart, I definitely would pick up. So Corpse Cart's really a really interesting choice because it's good inside of a Legions and Gash army. It's also good inside a Flesh Eater Corpse army. And has seen a lot of play. Now, you can take the Unholy Lodestone, which adds +1 casting to friendly death wizards within 18 inches of any corpse carts. So that +1 to cast is why normally people take it. And then you've also got the Balefire Brazier, which is subtract 1 from any casting roll. Subtract 1 from enemy casting rolls while wholly within, just within 18 inches of the corpse cart with the Balefire Braziers. So you could kind of do that buff debuff. But the corpse cart with Unholy Lodestone as a buff piece is really decent. So if you wanted to pick that up, I could see why you would want to. Black Knights are available in the Start Collected boxes. They don't see a lot of competitive play, but if you wanted to take them, you could. And then Graveguard. Graveguard we've seen used to great effect. I know Ian from Just Play is a huge fan of Graveguard. And also not forgetting that because they've got Death Rattle, you can add +1 attack to them. You can make them pile and attack twice. We've seen them played at, I'm going to say the Just Play Series GT. If you go and go onto our YouTube and look at those videos, there's a Legion Nagash army with a bunch of Graveguard, and they do really well, and then they get nuked in a turn because they only have that 5-up save, 4-up save, when someone's got a Ren characteristic of 0, which is a little unfortunate, truth be told. Attack Fishy says Black Knights are good in groups of 10 in Death March. Okay. All right, that's an interesting choice. I haven't seen people use that much, but there you go. Black Knights again. Death March is legit, says Tristan. So one of the underrated units inside Legions of the Gash, and that people don't take often, but I think people should, is Direwolves. So they've got 2 wounds each and a 5-up save. They're really quite cheap. They're super fast. They're movement 10. And then you add 1 to the save rolls for this unit if it's within 9 inches of any friendly corpse carts. So you can take the corpse cart, 8-pointed star painting. You take the corpse cart, and you can take a bunch of dogs, which is battle line, instead of Skeleton Warriors if you wanted to go that way. You've got a lot of board control, and they've also got 4-up save. They're summonable, so you can heal them as well. And you can also pass off wounds onto a Necromancer. So you've got some real legs there. Also 2 legs per dog, actually. So a lot of legs. More than Skeleton Warriors per model. I don't know where I'm going with that. Anyway, what's important is the corpse cart / direwolf combo isn't something I've seen people use a lot, but I like it. But they don't have, unfortunately, access to. They wouldn't be able to pile and attack twice, so I can see why people don't take tons of them. But they're a pretty good target unit, I reckon. They're also bravery 10, don't forget. So tough to deal with. It's a lot of wounds. And then you've got a Terrorgeist you can include. Oh, again, if you're going to pick one up, pick up the Start Collecting box. Same with the Zombie Dragon. You don't generally tend to see them unmounted. You normally see a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon as opposed to anything else. Okay. And that is not everything, unfortunately, because it gets super weird. Because when we start talking about Night Haunt, so let's go talk about Night Haunt now. When you talk about Night Haunt, you can include all of the Night Haunt inside the Legions of Nagash. And so you now have to ask yourself, and you've seen this time and again. If you're new to Age of Sigmar, you haven't seen it, but you've seen it used to devastating effect. Definitely last year under the last General's Handbook. So this would be taking units inside the Nighthawk faction that are allyable in, or not even allyable in, just usable inside one of the Legions of Nagash, and then using the Legion of Nagash ability to bring back a whole unit. The most offensive version of that we saw was obviously Grimgas Reapers, but you can still do it with Skeleton Warriors, and we've seen that used to great effect as well. And so all of the units inside Nighthaunt, or most of the units inside Nighthaunt, can be used inside a Legion of Nagash army. So it's worth talking about them in conjunction with also Nighthaunt as well. Now, Nighthaunt are in a really tough spot because everything you can use in a Nighthaunt army, you can also use in a Legion of Grief army, which is a White Dwarf supplement that came out. The rules are pretty easily available online. And that looks like this. There's a little picture of it you can see on the screen. Well, that's the front cover of the White Dwarf that it came in. Now, everything inside a Legion, a Nighthaunt army, is better, pretty much. That's a pretty bold statement, but better, in my opinion, inside a Legion of Grief army. So if you do have Nighthaunt models, they're better in two different Grand Alliances than they are, well, two different sub-factions than they are inside their own. Was it in Forbidden Power? Oh, thank you very much, Rob Kelly. It was not in White Dwarf. Thank you, Rob Kelly, and I apologise. It was in Forbidden Power, with also the Cities of Sigmar one. There was an Order one as well that was not very good. Thank you. Sorry. Apologies. It's in Forbidden Power is where it was. So thanks for correcting me. And Forbidden Power and Malign Sorcery are two supplemental things that Games Workshop produce, in which you've got endless spells which you can use inside any army. So there's four in Forbidden Power, and I think there's 12 inside Malign Sorcery that are available. So that's what those are if people are new and they're not sure what it means. Okay, good. We're up to date. So this is where it gets super confusing, because it's really hard to talk about Nighthaunt, because when you do talk about Nighthaunt and should I pick up Nighthaunt, the answer is don't pick up the endless spells. You don't have a terrain piece. There's also no endless spells for Legion of Nagash, although it's obvious that Forbidden Power was definitely meant to be the endless spells for Legion of Nagash, but we'll not talk about that. So then, let's look at the units. So you've got Knight of Shrouds or Cairn Wraith. Knight of Shrouds, you could maybe pick one up. Cairn Wraith, Tomb Banshee, I would avoid. Hex Wraiths, you could pick up if you wanted to take that really fun Death Riders battalion. That's the thing I always look at, because it includes the Black Coach, which I think is really rad. And then you can pick up Spirit Hosts as well. We've talked about those. Or Spirit Hosts and Hex Wraiths would be available in Start Collecting box. I wouldn't pick up either Hex Wraith or Spirit Host to play with competitively, but you could pick it up for fun. Now, the Knight of Shrouds on Ethereal Steed, you see, gets lots of play inside a Legion of Grief army, but he also is really good inside a Nighthaunt army, or an army where you've got some Nighthaunt models inside a Legion Nagash army, because of his command ability, which allows you to add +1 attack to the weapons and melee weapons of friendly Nighthaunt units wholly within 18 inches. So, really interesting. Then you've got Spirit Torment, which I wouldn't take. And then you've got Grimgas Reapers, which are very famously still very, very good, because you can bring the whole unit back inside Legions of Nagash. They're more difficult to heal inside a Nighthaunt army, and they're really expensive. So you might, if you really wanted to, go for a Horde variant like the Chain Rasp Horde, but which are also your battle line. Honestly, it's not a great... Nighthaunt itself is really hard to talk about, because you really are building two other different armies. So It's your inclusion in those that makes it relevant. So Glaive Wraith Stalkers, they've seen some play in legions of Grief armies. I'd be tempted. The problem is both the Grimghast Reapers, the Glaive Wraith Stalkers, to a degree, do a similar job, as do the Chain Rasp Horde. It's really about what are you trying to go more Horde, in which case it's Chain Rasp Horde. Do you want to do what Grimghast Reapers still do, which is quite good if they're against Horde units, but with the weight of dice that come out of things like Plague Monks and Witch Elves, you don't generally get as many saves as you might necessarily think. Then you've got the Lord Executioner. That would be a big no from me. Lady Alinda, the Mortarch of Grief, definitely very cool, and has got cheaper. Kurdos Valentine, I would also pick up if I wanted to play Nighthaunt. Both of those two are very cool models. Kurdos does a really cool thing where he steals command points off people. That could be very, very fun. Then you've got Reikenor, the Grim Hailer. I wouldn't pick Reikenor up, but I would play him as a Knight of Shrouds. So I pick him up to use as a different model. And then you've got a Dreadblade Harrow, which gets loads of play inside Legion of Grief's army. Legion of Grief. And then some of the big winners from this army is the Dreadscythe Harridans. They are fantastic inside a Legion of Grief army. And they are very cool in the big endless spell meta. While there are endless spells on the board, they just do more work, which is, that is the Harridans, right? Yeah, it is. It is the Harridans. And they're really, really, really rad. Super sweet. But Nighthaunt as a book is a great personality, just they're better in other places, which is a little bit of a shame. So I hope I covered that. It's fairly complicated for someone who's new, but it's once you understand it. So basically, you've got all the models available in Nighthaunt. Pretty much all the models are available to be used inside Legion of the Gash army or inside a Legion of Grief army, which is available through Forbidden Power. Thank you very much, Rob Kelly. But that's not to, some people have had some okay. People have done fairly well with their Nighthaunt army. So if you do really want it, like it's going to be an uphill battle, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. Okay. So Heinrad says the big problem with death is the inconsistency of Deathless minion save, and it's worse in Nighthaunt. So that's the ability to roll a 6. So you take any damage at all, and you roll a 6. It's called a DPR, damage prevention roll. So some people will call it a shrug, or some people will call it feel no pain. But effectively, what you're doing is after all your saves have been done, you're rolling a dice. It's inconsistent across the different army books, so it doesn't really work out. Okay. All right, let's change our palette, shall we? I think that'd be quite fun. And move on to the Flesh Eater Courts. Let's go talk about those guys. Also, don't pick up the Nighthaunt Endless Spells. That's it. Sorry about that, but that's just the case. Right, Flesh Eater Courts. There's not a lot of models in the Flesh Eater Courts. So the first thing you're going to want to pick up... Oh, Scrivo, thanks for donating 100 bits to the show. What up? You got a little RIP thing. That's cute. So if you do take Flesh Eater Courts, you definitely, in my opinion, should start off with both the Endless Spells and the, what's it called? The Terrain Piece. Terrain Piece is super useful for this army. It's almost like, hey, learn trade play. It's vital that you take it. And then the Endless Spells are all really good. The Chalice is really good. The Corpse Mare Stampede is fantastic, as is the Barricade. So you're getting... Oh, Vladium, thanks for the bits donation. Also, what up? What do people think about the Skink Starseer for Anvil Strike list now, as you're reliant on translocation, double tap with long strikes for first turn? You've seen a lot of people taking Skink Starseer already in Anvil Strike armies. I played against one recently. It's for the command point generation, right, inside order. So, what's cool about Flesh Eater Courts, if you want to get into it, it's one of the cheapest armies to get into. And then what's really uncool about it is it's got the most unavailable model that you definitely need. Yeah. So if you buy the Start Collecting box, you've basically got an army. You've got 30 ghouls, you've got Crypt Horrors, which you've got cheaper now, or you've got Crypt Flayers. available in the Start Collecting box, and you have a Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, or a Terrorgeist, or a Ghoul King on Royal Zombie Dragon. Any of them are great. Ghoul King on Terrorgeist is genuinely a terror on the tabletop. Ever since it came out, it's been devastating. So you're going to watch out for that. It's one of the cheapest Start Collecting boxes as well. So it's like 55 quid. So 150 quid will get you an army basically, which is unreal. And then you've got to get the terrain piece and the endless spells. But that's why it's so popular, because it's such a quick, easy army to pick up. So you start collecting boxes. No reason you wouldn't potentially get 3 of those, and maybe build the third one as a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon to put into the rest of your Death Army maybe. Now the model that's unavailable is the Abhorrent Arc Regent. So he came in a limited edition box set and is now currently unavailable. So it depends how much your friends are that bothered about WYSIWYG, but that means that single model is unavailable, and he's probably one of the key models that you need in a Flesh Eater Courts army. I would just convert something. I wouldn't bother buying something or going for a ridiculous price on eBay at the minute. I'd wait until they finally release the model. And if your friend is upset with, you can kit bash that out of quite a few things. And if your friend's upset about it, then your friend's not that nice to you, in my opinion. Or they're exactly the sort of friends you need. One of the two. So yeah, the Abhorrent Arc Regent, so it's super annoying. You get a Start Collecting box and just smash your army out, and then probably one of the key pieces in the game, the Abhorrent Arc Regent for Flesh Eater Courts, unavailable. So you just got to make it. You guys are just loving the Twitch emotes. That's what I like to see. Right. The other things that you can get, now you can get the Horrors and Flayers in the Start Collecting box. Both of them are good. Flayers are really cool because you can take them in Blisterkin. You can do lots of screams with them, do some mortal wound shooting, which can be quite fun. The Crypt Horrors have got cheaper. Are they great? I'm not sure. The big question that gets asked is about Crypt Ghouls. Now, Crypt Ghouls have got 2 attacks base. Now, you're able to add... you can add 1 to the attacks characteristic of the unit if they've got 20 more models. And the Abhorrent Arc Regent spell is going to be able to add D3 attacks to that. So just even if you do it in the worst case, they can have 4 attacks each. 4 to 7. There's another way to add another attack as well. So let's say you just max out at 7. Just 10 of those guys can be doing like 70 attacks. Now it is 4s and 4s, but there are ways to improve those as well. You can reroll 1s for attacks made by this unit while they're holding in 18 inches of the abhorrents. So if you wanted to get tons of Crypt Ghouls, you could, and they'll just eat stuff up, which is quite funky. So the Abhorrent Ghoul King you'll get is part of your kit on the Abhorrent Ghoul King on Royal Terrorgeist. So don't bother just buying one out of the bat. Just get it out of the big box. I don't think you can even buy it on its own. Then the Varghulf Courtier. Very usable and very necessary inside a Flesh Eater Courts army, but not vital. So you can take that if you really wanted to and pick them up. And I think... Oh, and then there's the... There you go. So pretty good. Overall, the cheapest faction to get into for this game. Gives you lots of models, which is really fun. But yeah, like honestly, every time I think maybe I've got some money to buy an army, I'm like, you're looking at like maybe 200 quid, and you've got a very top tier competitive army. So I mean that's great. Question on Nighthaunt, the Beast of Chaos of Death. It's a good question, but they're not really comparable, right? Because Beast of Chaos inside all the Chaos armies make all the Chaos armies better and bring utility and are super functional and usable in loads of armies. Nighthaunt are like you cherry pick just the good things and then that's it. Yeah, this is kind of funny though. Okay, let's talk about the new boys, the Osiarch Bone Reapers. That's who we're going to talk about now. So the Osiarch Bone Reapers. These guys are the new boys on the block, so you must have heard a lot about them recently from a lot of different people. But my thoughts going into them, if you wanted to collect them. They don't have a start collecting box, so you just have to go in at the deep end and buy what you want to buy. Now, if you've already bought Nagash, what synergizes well with Nagash, in my opinion, would be lots of Mortek Guard. A lot of people are going to be taking lots of Mortek Guard, and that's great. It's really cool, and it's really nice, this army, because you can really choose just by through its sub factions which how you want to change the shape of the game. Like Petrifex Elite is what everyone's taking at the minute with +1 save, but do you want to have it so that magic can't hurt you? Then you go Null Myriad, which I think is a great counter pick if Tzeentch becomes incredibly strong quite soon. And it's also a decent counter pick versus, is it versus Nagash? No, not really. So Nagash is really strong inside the army if you want to pick him up. I personally wouldn't pick up Katakros. He's got a great personality and good rules to boot, but like it's a good buy and he's going to be useful inside of a game. I just don't want him. Really, I think I would rather have anything else. Now, I would 100% pick up a Liege Kavalos. Absolutely, I think it's vital in most of the army builds. I would pick up a Bone Shaper and I would pick up a Soul Mason, but I probably wouldn't pick up a Soul Reaper anytime soon. Nor would I try to pick up Vought Martian, which is the special character. Mortek Guard is a yes. Now, for me, I'd probably pick up Kavalos Death Riders, as I think they're fantastic and really good. Mortek Guard are undeniably good, but now the Necropolis Stalkers, I 100% would pick up. I'm tending to go to, in my brain, 6 to 9 Necropolis Stalkers are a thing, and I wouldn't pick up Immortis Guard. Although that I had my mind changed about Immortis Guard when I was over in Sweden when we saw them play with Nagash, but I don't think Nagash needs the Immortis Guard. He's so survivable that the Immortis Guard don't really do the job. Now, that said, that there are ways to improve their attacks and how much damage that they can do, but I really do think Necropolis Stalkers the secret power of this army, and we saw that borne out when we saw the Necropolis Stalkers army win the Australian Masters. I would 100% put Arcan in the army if you wanted to pick up Arcan. He's very, very cool and really useful. He's kind of a mini Nagash in his place, but if you are going to buy Arcan, just buy the Start Collecting box because you get the other models basically for free. Now, finally, the Mortek Crawler and the Gothazar Harvester. Now, when the Gothazar Harvester came out, his ability, you could stack his ability, so I thought it was incredibly good. But since then, it's been reduced down. It's still decent, but I would rather probably spend the points in the Mortek Crawler if I was going to take anything. The Mortek Crawler is really fun. I think you have a really great time with the Mortek Crawler. It's really difficult. It's going to do some decent damage. It's very swingy, so you and your opponents get to have some fun, momentous dice rolls. You know, it's got no rend, so anything up against 4-up save, it's like, do you not save it, or do you do 10 damage, you know, from one of its attacks? I would also pick up the Endless Spells, and the terrain piece is really quite optional. It does do some good stuff in the game, so like I'd get it absolutely, but like it doesn't have to be the first thing on your list, which is nice. You know, but you 100% are probably gonna get it, but it wouldn't be the first thing I necessarily have to take to start playing with the army. But the model is the best used as a corpse cart conversion. I couldn't agree with you more. The Mortek Crawler would make a great corpse cart conversion. So there you go. So that's my woods and would nots with the OCR Bone Reapers. And what's cool about them is you can paint them how you like, and get into that army. I really am rating. I'm really rating both the Stalkers and I'm really rating the Kavalos Death Riders. Just because they're decent. I like the magic as well. Like I like the Empower Netherite Weapon spell, so I definitely want a Bone Shaper to be doing some spells or a Soul Mason to be doing some spells. I think you could build your Petrifex Elite Mortek Guard build, but I think that there's more opportunity for dynamic play inside that book still. So I think that's pretty rad. How about Morghast Archai? Now, the one thing I would say about Morghast Archai is if you took Morghast Archai, which is a great decision, if you took one unit, you could put it with the Stalkers Battalion, which is available for OCR Bone Reapers, and that gives you a pre-game movement, which is really strong if you know your opponent, if you know who's going first, because at the start of the game, you ask your opponent how many drops have you got, they say 10 and you've got 5 maybe. Then you go, cool, I've got my battalion, I'm going to take the first turn, I'm going to pre-move them up, then I'm going to move them up again, and I'm going to be in charge range with some pretty scary combat. Yeah, a unit of 2 Morghast Archive would be something I'd look at, but I wouldn't look at anything else from them, if that helps. And yeah, the Cav list does look really interesting. I'll try and get some of those lists available on the Honest Wargame website at some point to go along with the buying guide, which you put on the website, which me and Tristan are going to work on together. That's right, an intercontinental buying guide. And I think that's it, gents, ladies, folks. That is all of the death stuff. Yeah, it's not particularly huge, truth be told. So, yeah. Now, let's open it up. So 8-pointed star painting has picked up Nagash, 2 times guard boxes, Harvester, and the terrain. Now the Harvester is really cheap, so like it's not terrible, but I don't think you need the Harvester. I think you'll find 8-pointed star painting as you go through, because Nagash is going to tank so much. He's going to put 3 wounds back into each Nagash unit. So not into each Mortek Guard unit. So I'd probably, for the same points, because the Harvester costs the same points as the Crawler, I'd probably get the Crawler. Now, I know you've already picked that up. I'm not trying to upset you. I'm just trying to help. So, yeah, go for the... If you get the... Maybe you could take it back, or maybe you could also pick up the Crawler at some point, right? Mortek Guards with swords every time. Anyone who... That question doesn't need answering beyond that. It's just always with swords. Yeah, I hope that helps. I always have... oh, nice. Go on, Tristan. You got this. Kitties instead of Evos on foot in Anvils right now since their point drop. What do you think? I wrote a list, Napratine. So you're talking about evocators on Dracolines. I wrote a couple of lists. And my issue is... So they can be fast, and they are pretty tanky. But do they stack up against... What I was looking at was Juggernauts of Khorne. 150 points, 15 wounds, 3 up save, mortal wounds on the charge. The kitty cats, the evocators on Dracoline are decent. But like we talked about earlier, because Squinty Hugh was asking about the mortal wound output that you're going to need to deal with Mortek Guard necessarily, or the Rend you might need to deal with Mortek Guard. I think that's going to... Anyone who's looking for that stuff is going to negatively impact the armor save that you get on Stormcast. Similarly, also the Juggernauts of Khorne. But the Juggernauts of Khorne have got that impact hits thing where they do mortal wounds, and that's just... And they're so much cheaper for the wounds. It's good that they've got cheaper. It's good that they've got cheaper, but a lot... I don't know. I kept looking at the list, and I was like, it's a hammer, but I have no anvil. I've got no chaff. I've got no, like, counterplay. I could maybe just, deep strike them, gav charge them in. That's a way of doing it. But I want to do all my hero phase buffs and to make them super strong. So it's like a Death Star unit that's a maybe. I can't put a list together for it yet. So I'm undecided, but erring towards no is what I'm basically saying. I have 20 Kavalos Death Rider, says Bling Marine. Oh, hold on. Let's see what Heinrad says. You need Archon from what I've played against when you lose a couple of Mortek because you fall on the wrong side of your 97% success rate. You just put the models back in the army. You can do Archon on a Gash for that kind of healing, along with a Bone Shaper who puts another 3 back into a unit. It's pretty scary. I don't like that the Bone Reaper name characters all belong into one sub-faction. I think they should be spread out. But I love Nagash. You also made me pick Flesh Eater Corpse for next year. Okay, yeah, honestly, super quick. And let me tell you, honestly, please take the endless spells, specifically the Corpse Mare Stampede. It's expensive, but I think you'll have a great time playing with it. And I think you'll find that it's really useful. I have 20 Kavalos Death Riders, says Blink Marine. What support do you use in the Kavalos Death Riders list? This is the question I had on your YouTube review of the unit. Okay. So the Kavalos Death Riders, obviously you need Leech Kavalos. That's super important. But it depends what you want to do with the Death Riders. Do you want to countercharge? So do you want to sit them behind some Mortek? Or do you want to charge up and do you want to pin the opponent army back while you do other damage? For me, I think the Stalkers are a good countercharge unit along with them. They're not as fast as the Death Riders. The problem is the Death Riders can be super quick and go ahead of the army. So you need to decide how you're going to play. So if you wanted to sit back with some shooting, that could either be Nagash, Arcan, or some crawlers, then what you could do is sit behind the lines, throw them forward, do your shots forward. They're going to run towards you with use some Mortex screens and then countercharge with the Cavalos, but they grind really, really well as well. So it depends if you want to build them as objective grabbers, you want to do this kind of like huge first wave crush, or you want to countercharge. But you need shooting because you need your opponent to have to move around. Because while they're fast, they're not as fast as some of the other units in the game. So you want them to feel threatened, whether that be by Nagash, whether that be by some Ender spells, whatever it might be. You want them to feel threatened so that they move, so you can hit them on the charge. Now I just need to work out how I'm going to build Nagash base, so it looks like a pile of dead Stormcast bodies. Yeah. Is it 160 for Jugs or 150, Reaper? Are you sure? Because they came down in points. I'll double check that later. But still really, really amazing. Still really good. Whereas the Blood Crushers are 120, 130. They're just crazy cheap. Crazy cheap. But I think I'd still go for the Juggernauts. I was writing lists for the Juggernauts yesterday, and I was like, wow, they are so good. So many wounds with a 3-up save. It's bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. So yeah, but you can't go all in on the Jugs. You do need other units. It's a bit like with the Liege Cavalos. You've got to just take other units and do something with it. Right. Okay. That's not bad. We're doing okay. Any final questions for today? Please ask, and I will be here for you. And then I'm going to get on and do some uploading, and then prep for the 40k show tonight, which is exciting. And what hobby you all doing, and how are you? Napratine, I think I'll drop in my Anvil Strike list because the hero phase nerf to long strikes just feels like hard enough to reach 4-1 in the tourney. Napratine, I would agree with you. I think that it's too difficult now with that shooting. I think the nerf was unnecessary. I think the Anvil Strike list was a really good counter in the game, but I would also drop it. And are you going to stick within Stormcast? And if so, what are you thinking? Not forgetting that you could also play Cities of Sigmar, and will some of those Stormcast units be really useful inside there as some backline shooting? What is my next army based on my own buying advice? Well, I haven't done order yet, but it's probably going to be 4 Flamespire Phoenixes with anointed of Assyrian on top, because that will be so good, so much fun. I love the idea of flying over things and doing 20 mortal wounds. I also like the idea of them coming back on a 4+. It's not particularly strong, it's just really fun. Napratine says, I'm thinking of going Cities of Sigmar, to be honest. Hallowheart shooting and spells. Yeah, I mean, if you already like shooting, that's the shooting build now, I think. So if that's your play style, I'd jump in that. Amy Snugs, as someone who hasn't played for ages, coming back in Sigmar, it's a bit overwhelming now with all the new elements of the game. It's a bit confusing. I mainly played when there were no points. Are OBR a good army for new returning players? I think the fact they don't use command points rules, etc., seems easier. They are, Amy. They're a very simple army. They're a very simple army, which is really nice. They've got some kind of unique mechanics because some of their command abilities are available on the Units War Scrolls. But it's a really simple army to pick up. Absolutely. It's got some really strong units. It's very forgiving. Absolutely. It's a really good choice for an army, in my opinion. The only other... I'd say it's like Iron Jaws? No, not even Iron Jaws. I think even Iron Jaws are more complicated. So, I'd go for OBR. I think that's a really good first port of call, to be honest. It's a really good starter army. It's not deeply complicated. It's a good choice. If you would start an army for 2020, which one would you choose for competitive? Probably Tzeentch. But we'll wait to see when the book comes out. But I'm going to go for Tzeentch. Tzeentch or Skaven. Zinch or Skaven, I think. I think Skaven have got a lot of good counters. So I go for Zinch or Skaven. I finished building unit handguns last night. Conversions can take forever. I've seen them, man. I've seen them online. They look really good. Yeah, looking forward to seeing you paint up those, Amy. Discipline is tougher to master than command points. OBR is simple. It is simple. So, super simple. Right, good. All right, good. All right, sweet. If you've got any questions about lists, for me, I'd pick up some Stalkers. I think they're really rad. Some Death Riders. I would probably avoid the Harvester at the minute, and then we'll see. Laughing, I haven't played much AOS since, and I've recently returned to the hobby, old 40k tournament player. What would be the best starter army to take to a tournament? It would be a Flesh Eater Courts army, I think, Laughing. Some big Ghoul Kings on Terrorgeist, super simple. You can just sling them forward. They've got their own spells. It's really not super complicated. You've got command point generation. You can bring on some free stuff. It's quite cheap. It doesn't have any shooting in it, really, but I would say that if you really want to master Age of Sigmar, you have to learn movement, combat, piling in. So I would go for a purely combat-based army instead of a mixed arms, so you could learn it. You could play Fire Slayers as well, but that's super boring. That's super boring if you wanted to play Fire Slayers. That's a really good choice, actually, for a starter army, but it's just mega dull, because it's just a big block, right? I'm working on my ultra chilled slan. Says Squinty Hugh. Damn, I want a new battle tome next year. Oh, can I have a look at the picture? Let's have a look. I'm going to make it so you guys can post some pictures on the screen. I'm going to try and work that out later. I can't do it right now. So sorry. All right, well, sweet. It's been wicked hanging out with you. I got prep for the show later. Don't forget to join me tomorrow for the order rundown. That's going to be a big show. Big show. So let's prep ourselves for that. Stay hydrated. And then I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it tons. Thanks for the bits donations. Thanks for the subscriptions. I hope this has been helpful. If it has been helpful, please leave comments below. Let people know about it. And and if you listen to the podcast, hope it's been useful as well. Have a great day. Love you tons. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me. People like Laughing, DeBolt, Twitch Village Idiot, Tristan, Learn Trade Play, Vladium, Amy, I see you all there. Thanks for joining us and being a new person in the chat. Will the water bottles be squeezy bowls? No, I think they're going to be them metal bottles when we get them done, I think. Great show, Rob. Stay hydrated. Thanks very much. See you tomorrow, and I'll see you later as well. Have a nice day, and goodbye.